What's up, y'all? So welcome back, and today we want to talk about some examples of using our concepts that we've learned through nutritional vitality. Nutritional vitality, again, gives us everything that we're looking for from a real food way of eating. It's really just a way to perceive what it is that we're doing when we eat real food. We've basically been teaching nutritional vitality ever since we started, but this is just a different way to perceive the things that we're trying to do within eating real food, right? So again, nutrient sufficiency, maximizing nutrients to the best of our abilities, minimizing toxins because toxins damage our cells and tissues and organ systems, and also deplete the body of nutrients. And then we always want to be focused on metabolic efficiency and metabolic flexibility. So it's as if you could basically grade foods based on this concept of nutritional vitality and these three different components. So let's take some examples here. If we look at a piece of steak again, like, is just a nutrition powerhouse. Like, it is loaded with things that the body can use. It has proteins, it has fatty acids, it has vitamins, it has minerals. By the way, in the vitamins, it has both fat soluble and water soluble. It's got bioavailable minerals. It's got cofactors that are necessary for the body to use and assimilate everything that's in that piece of steak. And then it also has a life force and vitality to it because it's perishable. So it is one of the best things that you can consume from a nutrition standpoint. And then also it has minimal toxicity because it is real food. Now, it's going to have minimal toxicity compared to processed food. Some people might say, well, what about antibiotics and maybe pesticides or grain-fed or GMOs? Well, that's where improving food quality would come into play and make it a better piece of steak. But in general, even conventional beef is going to be a heck of a lot better than processed food, right? So we have minimal toxicity compared to other things that we can consume out there. And then a steak is going to be great for metabolic efficiency because it is mainly just protein and fat. It doesn't have any carbohydrates in it. And if we look at an egg, again, regardless of the quality of the egg is going to have a lot of great nutrients. By the way, the nutrition in an egg is in the egg yolk, right? That's where all the color is. That's where the fat-soluble nutrients is. That's where the choline is. But an egg in general has a lot of nutritional value. We have protein, we have fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, cofactors. Again, there's a life force, there's a vitality, there's a perishability. So it's awesome in the nutrition component. And then it has minimal toxicity because it's real food. And again, we can make the same argument with eggs. Conventional eggs might not be as good as organic. Pasture raised is going to be the best, but even just conventional eggs are going to have minimal toxicity compared to processed food. And then it has great metabolic efficiency because, again, it's only protein and fat. It doesn't have any carbohydrates. It doesn't have any glucose. And then if we look at something like butter, all right, butter is a nutrition powerhouse. The Swiss used to hold religious ceremonies for butter. It had such life-giving properties because of its fat-soluble nutrients. Butter, from a nutritional standpoint, we have fatty acids, we have vitamins, minerals, cofactors, and again, a life force and a vitality. It's perishable. So it completely checks out from a nutrition standpoint. It has minimal toxicity. Again, we can make the same arguments for butter. Just regular butter is perfectly fine. It's great. Less toxins than processed food. But then if we want to improve the quality, maximize the nutrients, minimize the toxins, we could look for something that's hormone antibiotic free or something that's organic or grass-fed or pasture raised. All right. And then from a metabolic efficiency standpoint, it is perfect because it is fat and that's it. And butter actually has what we call medium chain triglycerides in it, which are really easy for the body to use for energy. All right, and then let's look at some produce, like a piece of broccoli. A piece of broccoli, real food, awesome. By the way, anything real food based is going to check out according to these rules. It's just that some are going to do better than others. So broccoli, it has some nutrients. It has some vitamins and some minerals and some nutrients that are a little bit more specific to plant matter. And it has cofactors and a life force and a vitality, so completely checks out when it comes to nutrients. Not the best nutrient powerhouse, not as nutrient dense as meats and superfoods, but completely fine. And then again, it has minimal toxicity. We can make the same argument with plants. Conventional plants are fine, probably have some pesticides and herbicides, maybe irradiated, but they're better than processed food. And if I wanted to improve the nutrients and minimize the toxicity in produce, I'd want to upgrade my quality by getting local or organic or some other verified label that ensures that there's some better quality associated with that produce. And then it's pretty neutral when it comes to metabolic efficiency because it doesn't really have much of anything as far as energy goes. All right, so completely checks out according to nutritional vitality. And then if we look at an apple again is going to check out because it's real food. An apple has minimal nutrients, some vitamins and minerals and cofactors. It's got a life force and vitality. It's perishable. We can make the same argument with an apple. Conventional is fine. We probably want to buy organic or better because apples do tend to have a lot of pesticides and herbicides, but even conventional apples will be a heck of a lot better than a Pop-Tart or something processed. And then from a metabolic efficiency standpoint, it has low metabolic efficiency simply because it is sugar-based, has some natural sugar in it, bound up with fiber and a bunch of other beneficial things. So not ideal for metabolic efficiency, but if we're having it later in the day in moderated amounts, perfectly fine. It still checks out. Now if we move into some things that we know are completely pointless to consume, so something like margarine or Crisco, hydrogenated fats, which are man-made and toxic, there is no nutritional value. There is an ultra high, it is nothing but toxic. And then there is no metabolic efficiency because it's the wrong kind of fats. My body doesn't understand it and can't use it properly, right? So things like margarine and Crisco, completely worthless. Fake butters and spreads, completely worthless. In the wrong direction, actually. We look at something like Chex. I think a lot of people still think that Chex and Chex Mix is healthy. Well, depending on the variety that you look at, here we've got a honey nut Chex. We look at the ingredients. We've got whole grain corn, which for some reason people might think is better than just regular corn. But whole grain corn, cornmeal, cornstarch, honey, molasses, canola oil, one of our deal breaker oils, one of our toxic oils. This would make this food product right here completely off limits for me. I mean, it is anyway. But and then it has a high amount of carbohydrates. So if we're assessing this based on nutritional vitality, it has minimal nutrients, minimal bioavailable nutrients because they're all bound up in these whole grain seeds and shells and things. Sometimes they'll fortify it with some fake nutrients. And then it has a high toxicity because corn is problematic for most people unless it's organic and or non-GMO. And if it doesn't specify that here, guaranteed it's GMO corn, so completely toxic. Sometimes Chex is going to have wheat, and we'd say wheat is one of the things we have to avoid at all times. And then it also has toxic oils in it. So from a toxicity standpoint, it has really high toxicity. And it has more horrible metabolic efficiency simply because it's nothing but carbohydrates. It's got a lot of starch and a lot of sugar. All right, so then let's assess something like a donut. All right, a donut from a nutritional vitality standpoint, minimal, if any, nutrients. I mean, I'm sure there's something in there that the body can use, but I mean, it's so offset by the toxicity that it is pointless. It's actually in the opposite direction of consuming some beneficial nutrients. So minimal nutrients, if any, super high toxicity because it has a lot of chemicals and dyes and preservatives and toxic fats and fried toxic fats, which makes the facts even worse. And then it has more horrible metabolic efficiency because it is nothing but refined sugar. All right, so I hope this is useful. It definitely is for me, especially when I was putting this information together, to be able to look at a food and assess it based on nutritional vitality. It should give you some leverage as far as trying to make the right decisions in the moment. Let's look at something that some people consider relatively healthy. Nature Valley granola bar. I used to love these things. Oh my God. So if we look at the ingredients here, we've got whole grain oats. A lot of people think whole grains are good for you, but we'd say whole grains are worthless because whole grains are extremely toxic. They have a lot of plant anti-nutrients. We'll definitely dig into that in more detail in another talk or another post or something. But then it also has sugar, canola oil, which I had no idea that granola bars had canola oil in it, rice flour, honey, brown sugar. So it's mainly just like toxicity and sugar and carbohydrates. So from a nutritional value standpoint, we have some nutrients, but they're probably not very bioavailable, not easy to use by the body. And we have a pretty high toxicity to medium toxicity because we've got toxic oils, we've got anti-nutrients associated with the whole grains, we got a little bit of a stabilizer there in the soy lecithin, and then it is not good metabolic efficiency because it is nothing but carbohydrates, or mainly carbohydrates. All right, so a great way to assess foods. I mean, the first way to assess foods is it real food or not real food according to our definition? But another great way is to assess it based on nutritional vitality. I want to consume things that are building this amazing body. I want to eat for nutrients. I want to understand the purpose of me eating food is to facilitate this body. That is it, right? So I want to eat things that do that. And anything else, even if it's approved, might not be optimal, okay? And we always want to eat in a way that nurtures the body's ability to use fat for fuel, because again, the body always knows how to use glucose for fuel because glucose is always running through the bloodstream. We want to create some metabolic efficiency and metabolic flexibility by teaching the body how to use fat for fuel. So we do that by eating real food and traditional fats from traditional fat sources and fat from real food sources. And then we want to be strategic with our carbohydrates, right? So big picture, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to eat real food. We're trying to be strategic with our carbohydrates, and we're trying to allow periods of space and not eating, because that's where the magic of fat burning happens. All right, and if you haven't joined us already, join our community over at community.superhumantransformation.com. And we will see you guys in the next video.